The morning she fired him, the sunlight was too bright for something so cruel. It streamed through the glass walls of the corporate office, turning the marble floors gold as if the world outside had decided it was a beautiful day, while inside, a man's life quietly shattered. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whisper Tales 3. Stories like this remind us why compassion still matters in a world obsessed with power. Aarav Malik had not missed a single day of work in 9 years. Not when he buried his wife after a sudden illness. Not when his infant son burned with fever through the night. Not when he himself walked into the office with a fractured wrist hidden beneath his suit sleeve. He was the operations manager at Billionaire Holdings, the kind of employee who arrived before sunrise and left after sunset, who memorized every supplier contract and knew every janitor by name. People often wondered how he managed it all alone. They never saw the 4 a.m. alarms, the packed lunches made half asleep, or the small boy waiting at the apartment window every evening. His son, Vihan, was 8 now. Bright-eyed, curious, and recently chosen to play the lead tree in the school's annual daytime spring play, a small role to others, but to him it was the world. It was the first time he had ever asked his father to attend something during work hours. Aarav had promised he would be there. For the first time in 9 years, he requested a single day off. Serena Vale, the CEO of Billionaire Holdings, prided herself on discipline. At 34, she had built a reputation for being sharp, decisive, and unyielding. Employees admired her intelligence and feared her standards. She believed success required sacrifice. After all, she had sacrificed birthdays, relationships, and even her own health to sit in the corner office with its panoramic city view. When Aarav's leave request crossed her desk during a critical merger week, she saw not a father's plea, but a crack in her carefully controlled machine. She called him into her office that same bright morning. The city hummed beyond the windows as he stood before her desk, hands respectfully clasped. His voice was steady but soft as he explained about the school play, about his son asking him just this once. Serena listened, her face calm, but her words were final. The company needed him. The merger could not afford distractions. Commitment meant being present, always. When Aarav chose to prioritize the play anyway and did not show up that afternoon, she terminated his employment before sunset. He packed his desk in silence, folding family photos with careful hands. Outside, the sun still shone, indifferent. He reached the school just in time to see Vihan scanning the crowd nervously from behind a cardboard tree. When their eyes met, the boy's entire face lit up. In that moment, unemployment felt lighter than regret. The days that followed were heavy. Bills piled on the kitchen counter. Aarav updated his resume late into the night after putting Vihan to sleep. He sold his late wife's old jewelry to cover rent, telling himself memories did not live in objects. Yet every morning, he still woke before dawn out of habit, sitting at the small dining table with coffee growing cold, wondering how loyalty could vanish so quickly. Across the city, Serena moved forward with the merger, but something unsettled her. Productivity dipped. Employees seemed quieter, less willing to volunteer extra hours. Aarav's absence left gaps she hadn't anticipated. She pushed the feeling aside, telling herself leadership required hard choices. A week later, Serena received an unexpected call from her father, Rajan Vale, a self-made billionaire investor whose shadow had loomed over her entire career. Their relationship was cordial but distant, built more on expectations than affection. He invited her to lunch at an upscale downtown restaurant, his tone unusually insistent. The restaurant terrace was bathed in soft afternoon light when Serena arrived. White linen tables overlooked the river, sparkling under the midday sun. She spotted her father immediately, but he was not alone. Sitting across from him, dressed in his only navy suit, was Aarav Malik. For a moment, Serena thought she was mistaken. But there he was, posture straight yet humble, speaking earnestly as her father listened with surprising attentiveness. A waiter poured water between them. The scene felt surreal, like a quiet collision of two worlds she had kept carefully apart. Rajan Vale greeted his daughter with a measured smile and gestured for her to sit. He explained, almost casually, that he had met Aarav years ago at a charity logistics event. He had been impressed by the young manager who worked without seeking recognition. After hearing through mutual contacts about Aarav's sudden termination, Rajan had invited him to discuss an opportunity. Serena listened as her father described plans to launch a new foundation focused on supporting single parents in the workforce, providing flexible employment, childcare assistance, and leadership training. He wanted Aarav to oversee operations. Not because he needed a job, Rajan emphasized, but because he had demonstrated integrity beyond profit margins. The sunlight seemed harsher now, illuminating the tightness in Serena's chest. She watched Aarav as he spoke about his son, about understanding firsthand the silent battle single parents fight every day. There was no bitterness in his demeanor, only quiet resolve. He did not glance at her with accusation. In fact, when their eyes briefly met, he simply nodded in polite acknowledgement. For the first time, Serena felt the weight of her decision not as authority, but as consequence. She had built her empire on efficiency, yet she had overlooked humanity. She had mistaken dedication for disposability. Lunch ended with a handshake between Rajan and Aarav. As Aarav rose to leave, Serena found herself standing as well. The terrace buzzed with afternoon diners, unaware of the shift occurring within her. She realized leadership was not about demanding sacrifice from others, but understanding what they sacrificed already. Over the next week, Serena did something she had never done before. She reviewed company policies personally, meeting with employees not to evaluate performance, but to listen. She learned about aging parents, special needs children, night classes, and hidden struggles masked by professional smiles. Productivity had not dipped because Aarav left. It had dipped because fear had replaced trust. She reached out to Aarav with a formal letter, not offering his old job back, but proposing a partnership between Virel Holdings and the new foundation. The company would fund flexible work programs and sponsor childcare initiatives. She acknowledged, in writing, that leadership required growth, and growth required humility. Aarav accepted the partnership, not out of revenge or triumph, but because it would help families like his. Months later, Virel's culture transformed. Turnover decreased. Employee satisfaction soared. Serena began leaving the office before sunset once a week, something she had never allowed herself. Sometimes she would see fathers hurrying out with backpacks in hand, and she would feel a quiet gratitude for the lesson she had almost refused to learn. On a bright spring afternoon, nearly a year after the firing, Serena attended a community event hosted by the foundation. Children ran across a sunlit park while parents laughed freely, no longer terrified of choosing between work and family. She spotted Aarav standing beside Vihan, who proudly showed off a small trophy from another school play. In that warm daylight, Serena understood that success measured only in profits was painfully incomplete. Real legacy was built in moments of compassion. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Whisper Tales 3 so more people can hear stories that remind us to lead with empathy. And before we end, take a second to comment the word kindness if you believe every hardworking parent deserves understanding, not judgment. Because sometimes, it takes losing a loyal employee for a single day to finally see the value of a lifetime of devotion.